morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream for May 21st, 2020. My name is Chuck Tomasi, and I am here to share with you all kinds of ideas based on your posts in the community. This is one of them, and today I am wearing the dark green, which means it's a topical deep dive day. This is where we're going to get into a specific feature of Flow Designer. I believe it was in Madrid or New York. I don't remember which release exactly, but it's called Decision Trees, and it can make your life and other people's lives a lot easier. So I'll get into that in just a minute. Let me get out of the way. Remind you, this is on YouTube at the URL you see over there. So give that thing a like, a subscribe, click the bell. You know what to do when you're on there. If you've got any comments, certainly throw them in there. We've got a wonderful running chat. Good morning to everybody. Good day, I should say. I don't know what time it is where you are. Thank you for joining me. It means a whole lot. Go ahead and subscribe to that. We also have this on Twitch if you are so inclined to watch over there. Unfortunately, I can't watch the comments on both at the same time, so I'm watching YouTube. Thank you for everybody who's joining. And of course, the Knowledge Digital Experience continues as we get into week 3. This is Now on Now week, where we talk about different ways people are using the ServiceNow platform and applications in their organization. So wonderful content. If you haven't already been there, go over to knowledge.servicenow.com. Everything from week 1 and week 2 is in the on-demand section. And if you missed a hands-on workshop, check out nowlearning.servicenow.com, and you can find a lot of those workshops there. And more content is coming out over the next few weeks. So don't think that once you've been there and seen everything there is to see, this is like an amusement park. We're adding rides all the time. There's new things to see. And I don't think we're tearing down the old rides either. It just keeps getting bigger park. So one ticket price, and it is free. Go over to knowledge.servicenow.com and have yourself a wonderful time there. Let me, forgot to mention the developer portal. Haven't mentioned that in a while. Go over to the developer portal and get your free personal developer instance. Connect with other people at meetups. We'll get a little more detail on that. The APIs, learning plans, lots of great information. Don't forget, this is your resource. It seems like at least once a week, at least, many times more than once a week, somebody says, how can I get better at ServiceNow? How can I start building applications? How can I learn more about scripting? This is the place. Developer.servicenow.com is where you want to go to expand your knowledge and go from admin to developer. Or if you're new to the platform, you've come from a different platform or full stack environment and you want to learn more, this is the place, developer.servicenow.com. And among the goodies we've got over there are, of course, meetups, where you can go to, what was it? I lost the title. Meetup.com/pro/ServiceNow Dev Program. There are, what does that say? 22,500 people, like-minded people, and I expect that to grow rapidly because a lot of these meetups are now virtual. There's one coming up in Stockholm next week. If you're in the right time zone, you could attend. I don't speak Swedish, but it'll be interesting to see what happens at that meetup. And there's more coming up in June. So take a look at the calendar. If there isn't one in your area, reach out to us. We'd love to help you start one. And when we get past all of this shut-in, stay-at-home, lockdown stuff, and we start to socialize and see people face-to-face again, this is extremely valuable. So look forward to seeing you there. Let's turn off the title and go to the community page. Actually, I'm not going to go to the community page. I'm going to go to my developer site because we have a lot to cover today. I am going to be talking about decision trees in Flow Designer. And our story goes something like this. I've got my employee table, and our employees have started to track their points for experience. Okay, whether it's, I finished a course or I've completed a project, but this is a fictitious scenario, but you get the idea. This could be customer loyalty points, could be a lot of other things. And the points are in bands. So if you were thinking about customer loyalty points, it might be bronze, silver, gold, platinum, something like that. If we're talking about employee experience, so I'm going to go with novice, intermediate, expert, wizard. So we're going to make that up as we go. So I've already got a flow built out in Flow Designer. Let me bring that up, which decides when is it time, if you've updated your record and the points change, is it time to update the band? And this would look very much how a developer might write it. If the points is less than 1,000, then we have a comment in here, which is why it looks that way. If the points is less than 1,000, let's say done with that, it updates the record and sets the band field. Come on, there it is, band to novice. You can see that right there. Band is novice. All right, and it goes on like that. Else if points is between 1,000 and 10,000, you get the idea. But this is fairly hard-coded. As soon as somebody says, oh wait, we're changing it, which happens all the time, you're there, I'm there, we know this, it's called experience, and they say, oh, it's no longer 10,000, it's 12,000, or it's 8,000, you got to come into your flow and change that. We're going to separate the decision-making from the flow and make it extendable. So if somebody does change the conditions for each of these bands, it doesn't matter to us. So let's go and do that now. The first thing we need is what's called an answer table. An answer table, let's go to Studio. This is where we pull the answers. It could be an existing table. It could be a new table that you create. So what I'm going to do is say, what are the definitions? Where can I find the answer to my band? What am I going to put into that field? Okay. In that field, right now the field is a choice list, so I need a value. Just some choice value that I can put in there. So what I will do is create a new answer table. Create a table, Studio, however you want to create a table. This isn't a very complex process right here. I'm going to call it employee band. All right, it's not going to extend anything from anywhere. I don't need a new menu. Let's not do that. Let's put it in the CLS menu. I don't even need a mobile module, forget that. Now, for columns, all I really need is a name. Can do that. Say that is a string. That'll be my display value. And you know what, let's put a value. Since it's going to be related to a choice list, let's just say choice. You know what, even better, let's make that. Ooh, I got a good idea. Let's do this. Let's call name. Let's get rid of value. I'm going to try something here. I haven't done this before. Let's make this a choice, and I'm going to relate the choice to the employee table so that it pulls the same list. All right, and you know what else I like to do on these? I like to make an active field, which is a true/false. Then I can disable them, put a reference qualifier, some sort of filter on that to say, I don't need these records anymore. You know, don't display the ones that are inactive. Let's default that to true so that all new records come in as true. Very, very simple table. That's my answers. Let's go populate that. So if I look on my CLS application now, it's in no particular order. So my new table will probably be at the top. There's my employee bands. Let's leave that record and create this new record. Now, name is going to be a choice. I did click new very poorly, but it has no choices. So what I'm going to do is configure the dictionary. I love this trick. It saves all kinds of time and maintenance later on. Go down here and click Advanced View. This is a bonus. This was not in the original script that I had, or thought process, I should say. None of this is really scripted. And down here on choice list specification, see how you have choice table now? I can pick my CLS employee table. Oh, wrong table. Missed by 1. Employee. I have to be able to spell this morning. Employee CLS 628, CLS 323. There's it is. And it knows out of all the choice fields, out of the 2 choice fields that are on here, out of all the choice fields, let's pick the band field. It will get the choices and the display values and all that good stuff from that other table. So I'm borrowing, I'm referencing that set of choices. Now my field has this stuff on it. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to create a novice record, save. I'm going to create an intermediate record, insert and stay. An expert record, insert and stay. I could even put some kind of order on here if I wanted, but I don't need it. I'm going to do wizard, but I'm not going to do master yet. I'm going to save that one. Okay, so I've got these 4 choices. As you progress and you get more points. Now I need to make a decision table. This is where the decision process will happen. All right, so we go to decision tables underneath system definition. See it right there? I like that little target thing. And I've got 3 of them that come out of the box that are for change management. And in here I can see they're read-only because they belong to global, and I'm not in global, but I've got an input, 1 or more inputs, and that will dictate how it's represented on Flow Designer, because that's where these are actually activated from. And then the decisions underneath. When do I hit each of these branches? So when you look at this flow, let me go back to the flow for a minute. You developers out there, doesn't this look kind of like it should be a switch or something else? You know, it's like we're using one value, but we're comparing it against multiple things. Very similar concept, but even better. So back on our decision table, let's go make one of our own. Create new, give it a name, call this employee bands, because I'm not very imaginative. Now I have to point it to my answer table. This is where it says, where are you going to get the answers for this? And I will put employee band. There's my employee band table. Again, this is any table in the system. You don't have to create a new one. You could use existing records. You may have templates that you use for this. You may have, but there's no reference qualifier on here, so you got to be careful. If you point it to CMDB CI, probably not the best idea. But you could use CIs as your answers to some other decision. You could use this as a, I don't know, assignment rules if you wanted. So it's kind of in a way like the data lookup tables, but a little bit different for Flow Designer. So let's save that so that we stay on this record. And you'll notice I've got 2 new related lists. The inputs. What do I need? I need the employee's inputs. So let's create a new input. This is going to be of type string, I think. Yeah, that'll do. It's just a choice field. Actually, you know what? It is a choice field. Let's put choice, because that's what field type will be available to me. The label will be, no, points is an integer. Silly me. What am I passing it in? I'm passing it in the points that an employee has, and that, in fact, is an integer. The label will be employee points. Column name is predetermined. It prefixes it with a U. Why it does this in a scoped app, I don't know, but I'm going to leave it because I'm just not going to have it. It is mandatory. I can't do any decision making without this input. So keep your eye on that. Why you'd want this read-only, I don't know. Seems like kind of a crazy thing to make it input read-only, but we'll take care of that. So that is my input. It looks like a dictionary entry. It feels like a dictionary entry. It probably is a dictionary entry. Haven't looked. There's my input. Ta-da! That is what Flow Designer will ask for. Now I get down to the meat of this. What are the decision criteria for each of these bands? So I am going to create a new decision here. This is so simple. You don't need to be a developer to do it, which is great because then you can delegate it to somebody else. Let's say novice is going to be my first thing, so I'll do it at order 100. I could make novice the default answer. Not bad. If you can't figure out how many points the person has, let's default this to novice. Could do that. And that is going to be where the employee points, it already knows the integer fields in here consist of one whole integer field. And the operators you can use on an integer field, less than, greater than, there's no string operations in here, is less than. If you've got less than 1,000 points, you are a novice. Ta-da! It's tough stuff, huh? Let's go do the others real quick. For intermediate, and this label is how it's going to show up on that decision making process in Flow Designer too. So very important that you label these so that you understand them. this will be the second thing in the list. I don't want to put another default answer. That wouldn't make sense. Is greater than or is 1,000, because the other one went up to but not including 1,000. And points is less than, not keywords, I missed. Points is less than 10,000, let's say. Okay. You got to work hard to be the next level here. Two more. Let's do, oh, you know what? I haven't been picking the answer record. Did you notice that? Okay, we're going to go back and pick that out. Let's do it this time. Next level was expert at 300. Without an answer, you don't get very far. Okay, so employee points is greater than or is 10,000. And we'll cut this one off at 20,000. Points is less than 20,000. So anything with a 20,000. Now, the answer record, I forgot to point out at the answer record. This comes from the table that I just pointed. Notice that it looks read-only, but the magnifying glass is up. This is a document field, a document ID field. It already knows the table. Why I would want to switch it, I don't know, because I've already defined the answer table. But then I can look up the records in here. I'm defining expert. There's expert, done, done. I noticed it was missing because I looked at this list down here and said answer empty, and you can't set document ID fields from the list. So let's go back to novice and set that. Don't forget your answer record. And I can actually just start typing because it's the display value. Put that in there, save that record, do the next one intermediate. We've got one more to do after this, and that is wizard. So let's pick intermediate. Looks good. Update record, update record. Yeah, sorry about that, Gaurav. What is the answer field for? The answer field is for forgetting. And I do sometimes. So let's do the last one. Wizard is currently anything greater than or 20,000. Before I forget, let's set the answer field here. Wizard, done. And we'll make this one order 400. Where points is greater than or is 20,000. Okay, you get more than 20,000, you are a wizard. So I've got my things here. The one thing I wish the developers had done by default is if I put the condition on the list to see what that is, I wish they had made this readable. There's a dictionary attribute. It seems like I rarely ever create a condition field without that attribute. Okay, secret little sauce. If you put readable in here, it does. You don't see the encoded query string like this with the up carets and whatnot. It will say and or, and instead of field names, it will be display values. It's much nicer. So dictionary attribute, unconditioned field, readable equals true. Look for it. I wish they'd done that. They did not. Okay, decision table created. That's it. Again, you can make this very easy for somebody else to maintain. They say, hey, conditions have changed. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Now, let's go back to our flow and replace this ugliness. I know it looks beautiful to some programmers, but it's not. And I'm going to, right up above, you know what, let's just tear it out. I don't need it. Delete the if and everything else goes away. If you go from the bottom up, you got to do one at a time. There we are. Let's go and underneath flow logic, there's this make a decision. This is what's going to use the decision tree. So we make a decision and we can give it a label. It'll already have a label if I use this. And there is our employee bands. Woohoo! That was easy. Okay. How do you want this to work? First, do you want to match all of them, any of them, that kind of thing? I'm going to say the first one that matches wins because they are mutually exclusive at this point. And I can include a default case here. And otherwise, notice when I click this, before I go further, as soon as I decided what this table was or which decision table to use, it pulled out those decision processes. So there's novice, intermediate, expert, wizard in the order I specified. And if I put otherwise on here, it's got an otherwise. handy, again, if you don't have a case. This is like default in a switch for you developers out there. You've got A, B, C, D, and, well, what if it's K? Okay, K will default to something else. Maybe it's an error condition. I don't have that right now because you're going to have maybe you could put in a negative number for the points, but that's still less than 1,000 and you would become a novice. But I've got all my cases covered. I don't need the otherwise in here. Anything else I do need in here? Well, I need the employee points. That's what's going to be posted. So I've got my trigger record, employee, I've got points. Let's put that in there. And that's it for my decision. Now, what do I want to do in each one of these cases? Well, it's pretty straightforward, simple. I'm going to do an update record. Same as before. This is what was under each one of those if, else, and set the band to novice. Okay, this is the exciting part. I should have only gone with 2 cases because this is very repetitive at this point. But I'll go as fast as I can. Update record, drag the employee record, say state, not state, band. I've been doing too many things with the state field lately. Is intermediate. And again, you could put any other flow actions on here. Send a Slack message. Congratulations, you've been promoted. That kind of thing. Doesn't matter to me. Update, record, print a PDF. Send them a certificate. Give them a $50 coupon to Amazon. Band is expert. And wizard is going to be my final update record. For the moment, we're imagining that that master is not in there. That's going to come along later because requirements change. I just wanted to save you the hassle of doing it. Band is wizard. Did I get them all? Okay. Now, notice update employee record, update employee record, update employee record. Not very friendly. If I were to do this in a production environment, I would say band equals novice. Maybe you're setting something else. Put it in those comments. Those little annotations are very helpful. Let's go test it out. So I have a record for, let's get my CLS employees up here. I've got Chuck, Craig, and Jeremy. Jeremy currently has 0 points. Let's say he's done a whole bunch of work, finished projects, done whatever, he's earned points. Community, charity, I don't know how you get points. You make up your own rules for this story. And suddenly he's got 1,200 points. We better activate that so it's the latest version. Oh, we're going to test. We're going to test. So let us, you know what, let's just activate it. I feel pretty brave at this. Let's activate it so that the if-else one is now out of the picture. Our new one with the fingers crossed, throw the holy water, whatever we're going to do to this thing. There, successfully activated. We go 1,200, save. He should advance to intermediate in a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, I'll read the comments. There's one execution field. Put some light on that, please. There is one execution field. I'm going to have to look for that. Where are we going with execution field? And why didn't this execute? There it goes. Whew, right as I was getting nervous. So he's been updated to intermediate by the decision tree. Is the decision table free or has license associated? I'm not sure. Last I checked, it was a new table and it wasn't in that exclusion. I'm looking into that a little further. If you've got any licensing questions, I don't answer them here because licenses are likely to change and this video will live on forever. So check with your account team. As of 2020, as of May 21st, 2020, I believe that any new table, like a decision table, is going to be subject to license if you are licensed by table. Okay, licenses change. As of 2020, the whole license program changed. So you got to check with what does your license agreement look like? Talk to your account team because I can't answer that here. I don't know what your contract looks like, where you are in that process. It could be by users, it could be by license, it could be roles. Don't know. Okay, so my safest answer, talk to your account team. There is one execution. It would be nice if decision tables could be used in place of rules on an order guide when deciding what items to include. Potentially, if you, I'd have to think about how that would work. You could use the catalog item as your answer table, maybe. Think about that. You can use any table as your answer. So, and you can hit multiples of those. Remember in the flow, it said apply all that match. What was it? It was first decision that matches or run all decisions that match. So you could potentially do that and add things to whatever it is. Now, remember, when you're in when you're in an order guide, there's rules that apply to which items are going to show up as well. So this happens once the flow starts, which is going to be connected to your respective items. I don't know, can you attach a flow to an order guide? I haven't done order guides in a while. Whew, my ITSM information is rusty. Okay, so I've got this working. Looks like it's all fine and dandy until somebody says, hey, we're changing the point structure. We want to update the decision table so that experts are now 10,000 to 25,000. Well, I don't need to come into my flow and change that. Oh, and we're adding a new category called wizard, which will 25,000 and above. Like, wow, you just like totally messed me up. For the first part, all we have to do is go back to our decision table and add the new rules. Okay? So let's first go to the answer table. My fault. Let's go to the answer table and create a new answer. So we have our employee bands, new. We're going to call this master. Submit. Ding. We now have a new level. Go back to the decision tables. Add our new band. Adjust the points on expert. Or wizard. Was it wizard? So expert, I got to read my notes because I had this all planned out. Expert was going to go 10 to 25. Wizard was 25 and above. Okay, before we get that master implemented. So they say, hey, points are changing. It's going to be harder because we have so many people that are becoming wizards. We got to raise the roof. So let's do this. Let's go 25,000 there. And we will go wizard is 25K and above. Now notice, I did not touch the flow at this point. Watch what happens when Craig goes to, let's go back to our, we'll pick on Jeremy. Jeremy's done a whole bunch more work. He's now got 22,000 points. That would have been enough to get him wizard status before, where the cutoff was 20K. The bar has been raised to 25K. So let's do that. Work for a little bit higher. Work for a little bit. He's still an expert. He's not a wizard yet because wizard has been moved. I didn't touch the flow. There's the important part. That's the takeaway for this whole thing is you segregated the decision-making process from the flow, which makes it easier to adjust these when they adjust. And this is one of the more volatile things that you'll run into is this is one of my key tenets about building an application is make it data-driven. There's the data. Okay? The decision tree is the data. Pretty simple. The bands are data. You're not going into the flow. You don't have to go back to dev. You don't have to recertify all this stuff. You're just changing data. It's like putting people into different groups. Okay? You don't go to dev to add a person to a group or add a role to a group or take somebody out. That doesn't happen. That's just part of the normal org change. So is this. Okay? Your change management processes may dictate that you test this on another instance to verify it, but this is pretty low risk stuff. It's data management. It's not app configuration. Well, I guess in a way it is app configuration, but let's go on. Okay, next requirement comes up. We've got a new band. We're going to call it Master because everybody bows down to the Master, right? Master will start at 25K and above. So we need to update our wizard, actually 100K. Wizard is going to stop at 100K because currently wizard has no upper bound. Let's go to our decision table. Let's take our employee bands. And wizard has no upper band, but it's going to we're now going to limit this. That's greater than or is 20,000 and is less than 100,000 points. Get the right amount of digits in there. And we need to make a new band. Let's make a new decision that anybody greater than that is now a wizard. They are going to be at 500. The answer for that will come off of our answer table that we modified before. Not wizard, master. Condition for that will be points is greater than 100,000. There we go. Make sure everything's still working over on the streaming machine. So I've got these bands and I've put another one on the end. So we've got a wizard. Watch what happens to Flow Designer. I didn't even refresh this screen. Oh, I guess I need to refresh the screen. Let's go back into employee points bands, and it knows master. Okay. Master is one of the decisions. It went, sucked it all in. Now it doesn't do any action at this point, but of course, for you and me, this is easy enough. You go, hey, you made a band. What do you want to do with it? Oh, let's do another update record, because that's simple enough. Update record. And we will grab the employee data pill, set the band field. Oops. I just wanted to call these bands something more interesting, like Led Zeppelin. Done. There we are. And of course, being a good developer, future self will appreciate us when we say band equals master. Yay. Done, done, done. Save. Activate, and from whatever integration we've built, Jeremy's getting more points for doing his wonderful work because he's such an awesome guy. Maybe for being on an episode of Tech Now, he gets 1,000,000 points. That's starting to sound more like, whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter. Let's go back to our Jeremy record, which I had recently. There he is. And he's done a whole bunch of work. He's got 101,000 points and 101,000 points. Save that. Did I activate it? I saved it. I thought I activated it. We're going to find out. If it turns out that he's a wizard, I forgot to activate it. If it turns out to be a master, then I remember. This is happening asynchronously, by the way. It's happening in the background, which is why you see it taking a few seconds. If I wanted to change that, I could go up to the trigger and say underneath advanced options, this is as of Orlando, run in background. I could run it in the foreground, but remember, the more you run in the foreground, like before and after business rules, the longer it could take to return the control to the browser. So the person may be sitting there going, what is taking so long? I haven't tested this in the foreground. I think that might be fun. Let's go do that. Just to see how responsive Flow Designer is to a quick change like this. I don't know. Never did this before. Activate that. I'm not even using the test button. I'm feeling so brazen today. And let's go give Craig some points. So the cutoff was 1, 10, 25, and 100. So let's go back to our employee table. Employee bands, employees. And we'll say, Craig, you've done a wonderful job. You now have 12,000 points. Save, and that's feeling a little long. That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. That was right on that borderline of what's taking so long? Why is the system so slow? Where users will start to think it's your fault and that ServiceNow sucks. Well, no, you got to process these things asynchronously. In this case, where it's something that appears on the screen, I would consider running this in the foreground. If it's triggering half a dozen flows, you may want to run some of those in the background. If it's something that does not appear on the screen, it's doing an integration or it's sending something to Slack, whatever. If it's not something that has to happen right this second, process in the background. That's why it defaults in the background. So there's one other thing that I discovered just this morning before I was ready to roll the camera, and that is a decision table API. I go to the doc site, and I'll include links to this in the show notes, so don't worry about that. And I say Decision Table API. I was typing Decision Table, and I noticed this came up and went, what? What is that? It is an API that you can work with in your scripts, your server-side scripts, to get information out of there. So you instantiate a new Decision Table API object thingy. They call theirs DT, and their various methods. Get all says, go get all the decision tables. For us, it would be those four. The employee bands, the change management, whatever those three others were that were around change. And it would return you back, look at this API. Crazy documentation. We get all this wonderful information. So just by saying, go get all, and then stringify it so we can read it, the result comes back with, here's all your inputs, here's all your stuff, here's all your inputs, here's all your stuff. This is one called distinct answers. It's got a lot of information. This is the longest response payload I've seen on a doc page. Okay. We've also got get answers for a specific decision ID. So for us, if we were to pass in the sys-ID of our employee bands decision table entry, I would get back an object with what are some of the details around that. I can map the inputs. So when I say get decision, I want a specific decision based on the inputs. If I pass in the points, inputs dot employee, employee underscore points, got to be that field name. Okay, the field name is going to be the object. Looks like this. I could pass in, there's my inputs. Inputs was set here. They're using an age. And then here's the sys-ID of the decision table that I'm going to use. And you would get back an answer that does that. Get decisions is if you have multiple decisions that will match. Lots of great stuff here. The Decision Table API, very handy. If you want to use this outside of Flow Designer, you could use this. Maybe that is a way to address that order guide scenario that you had before. Something to think about. Hadn't thought about that before. So that is all I have for decision tables, Decision Table API, make a decision action in Flow Designer. Wonderful stuff. Way to segregate that decision making process. What are the conditions for each band to make it data driven? I love this because it is data driven, and it makes it easier to maintain. And isn't that what we want as developers? Is we want things that are easier to maintain, things we can delegate and say, hey, sales department or customer service, you go maintain those points. Or you maintain the conditions. I'm not going to be in that business. But if you add a new band or a new loyalty or whatever, let me know, because I got to add that to the logic to update the record. So that is all I have for today. I am going to bid you fond farewell, and there will be no show on Monday because it is a holiday here in the U.S. I am not going to get up stupid early on my day off. I consider it many days. So the next one will be 1 week from today, which would be Thursday, May 28th, and I'm still working on a topic for that. No, I'm not. I have a topic, and it is, let me look. I'll give you a sneak peek at what it is. I picked one out this morning. Our topic next week is going to be about client scripts, based on a discussion we had in the community about client scripts. I got to check. I thought I answered this already, but I'm going to double check. For now, it's going to be about client scripts. But if I change my mind and wear a different color shirt than orange, you'll know something happened. Until then, take care, learn something, share something, be helpful, and enjoy the rest of the Knowledge 2020 digital experience over at knowledge.servicenow.com. Take care. Bye.